Hey guys, it's Jessica, and today I'm going to bring you a video all about e.l.f. You guys know I love e.l.f. so freaking much. And so I'm going to talk about some of my absolute favorite products in this video. I've done best and worst e.l.f. videos in the past. I can link below where I mention different products. But right now here in 2015, these are the products that I still have in my collection that I'm using currently that I really like and I wanted to share with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I'm going to mention to you guys is this lipstick that I'm actually wearing right now. Their moisturizing lipsticks are one of my favorite lines that they have. The shade I'm wearing is called Pink Minx, and it's kind of a nice warm toned pink, but it's really creamy. It truly is moisturizing. The downside is that you can see on mine kind of broke a little bit because it's so soft. So I have to be really careful with this. Now, in all fairness, I have a Bare Minerals lipstick, which is really expensive, and it broke the first time I used it as well because it's so moisturizing. So I don't necessarily think that's just because e.l.f. is cheap. I think very moisturizing lipsticks might have more of a tendency to do that. Now, that hasn't helped with any other e.l.f. lipsticks that I've used in the past, including the other moisturizing lipsticks, so I think it might just be a fluke, but the reality is I love this color. I love the formula. It's so comfortable on the lips, and it just, like every time I put this on, I feel like it's like truly actually moisturizing, and it's just such a nice shade. And so I had to mention this one in this video. The other e.l.f. lip products I'm going to mention in this video are their matte lip colors. I have two that are kind of my holy grail favorite ones. Now, before I even get there, the matte line, I would say, is not 100% matte. It's probably like 80% matte because it does have kind of this finish to it that leans a little more satin than completely matte, but it's still close enough where it still moisturizes enough. I really like these. So this one is in the shade Wine, and I almost wore this one today. I was so torn. But it's this gorgeous, truly wine color, but it's a little bit lighter than I think I would typically think of like a Merlot. Just a little bit lighter, more berry toned. I love this. And the other shade that I love is called Praline, or Praline if you're from New Orleans. But it's this gorgeous kind of nude, but it's more of a brown toned. And I've worn this when I've gone out to brunch, and I've worn it out for coffee. It makes me think of coffee and dessert, which maybe that's why I wore it, but I really like this. And I don't typically go for those kind of brown shades at all, but for some reason I really felt drawn to this one, so I wear it a lot. And one little fun tidbit, I've actually done a review and swatches of all the ones I have in this line. I have a lot of them, but the bottom part comes out and there's a little sharpener in it. Also, I have to tell you, because this blew my mind, in the moisturizing lipsticks, and I think any of the e.l.f. ones that have a color swatch in the bottom, if you pull it out, it's actually like a little gloss or like a little bit of the lipstick. How freaking crazy is that? Now that means it's like true to form that it's actually the color. So I think they just smushed some of the lipstick down there, but I thought that just blew my mind. So if you have one, check it. I didn't know for like 2 years that was down there. Another favorite is another thing I'm wearing today. I tried to wear as many of these as possible. This is the HD Lifting Concealer, and I have it in the shade Fair, and it's just a kind of shorter concealer with a doe foot applicator. And the reason I like this is because when I blend it, whether I'm blending it with my finger or with a brush or a beauty blender, it blends away beautifully, but it actually has coverage. And like I said, I'm wearing it today, and this shade Fair, if you're thinking about getting it, it's almost like a, it's almost like a gray toned yellow. It's really bizarre, but for me, at least with my skin type, it works really well. Now, I do think it does have a little bit of dewiness to it. It's not tacky at all, but it is a little bit more moisturizing and dewy. So if you know that you have dry under eyes, you'd love this. I think if you have a really oily under eye area, you might not like it as much, but I would still say give it a shot because the coverage is beautiful and it just feels so nice when I put it on. This is one of my favorite products ever out of any brand. This is their contour palette. This, oh my gosh, it comes with 4 shades. This contour shade right here is so similar to my really expensive high-end Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder in medium. It's so similar. It's just got this kind of grayish brown, and it's perfect. I used it today for contouring and even really kind of bronzing up the face. There's also more of a warm tone one right there if you'd prefer that. But then it also has these kind of highlighting shades. I use this yellow one all the time to set my under eye. I used it today actually just to set this area and my nose to kind of lighten that area, but also to set it instead of any other powder. This yellow one is a really nice highlight too. I would say I use these two shades more than I use these two. I use these two all the time. I kind of wish they would just come out with a duo of just these two shades, because then I could travel with it a little easier, because this is just a little big for what I would prefer to travel with. Another product is their contouring blush and bronzing cream. Now, I don't really like cream products when it comes to blush, bronzer, and stuff, but this one blows me away every time I use it, because not only is it insanely pigmented, but it actually stays on. Like, I think the reason so many of us don't like cream products is because they just don't last. You have to put a powder on top of it. And it's like, well then, why even do the cream step? Because I feel like some of the powders would last all day on their own. So this stuff though, every time I've ever used it, stays on all day. I'll typically use a stipple brush. e.l.f. has a really nice stipple brush. Mine's dirty, it's in the bathroom right now, but they have a really nice stipple brush, like a larger one and then a smaller one. So you could use this, kind of dab it in there and then dab it on your cheeks and then blend it in. Absolutely beautiful. I was blown away by this. Another product I really liked is this is their baked blush, but it's clearly a highlight shade, and it's called Pinktastic. I've mentioned this before on my channel in my top 5 highlighter video. This is like, it's spectacular. I can't think of another word for it. It's this unbelievable, you can see it from a mile away highlighter. You do have to use a light hand with it, but I'm wearing it today and I think it just adds such a nice glow. And for what, I think this one's $3. It's just as good as, and in fact I'll compare it. I have the MAC Soft and Gentle here, which is like a cult favorite highlighter, and I want to compare it to this. Oh my gosh, look how close they are. Now the MAC Soft and Gentle I think is a little more yellow than this one is, but it would kind of depend on what you prefer, but they're so close and the sheen is the same. They both blend beautifully and they look beautiful in the light. I love both of them, but I find myself reaching for this one more than my MAC one, so take that for what it's worth. I think that's kind of a big deal. Another product I really like that I'm wearing today is their eye brightener. It's a mineral product of theirs, just in this little pot, and it's in the shade Buff. And this reminds me of my Bare Minerals Well Rested powder. It's kind of got a yellow tint to it and a crazy amount of coverage for a powder. But you can see there how light it is. And so it's just incredibly brightening in that area. You can just use a brush to kind of buff it there and then even out. You could even use it to highlight this area, but I use it on my under eye all the time, and it's just, it makes me look so much more rested when I'm getting up in the morning to teach. You know, I'm tired and it's early and I'm getting ready quickly, and this is something that's become a go-to for me to just grab and throw on over my concealer to make sure that the concealer lasts a longer amount of time, but also to just brighten that area. So I'm actually wearing e.l.f. eyeshadows on my eyes right now. I'm going to mention 2 different palettes of theirs. These are their Prism eyeshadows, and this palette is called Sunset, and I love these shades. They're just these gorgeous kind of warm toned yellows and bronzes. This purple I don't really use, but the rest of them I do. Today I'm wearing this shade right here on my lid, and it's just this gorgeous, oh my gosh, kind of amber colored eyeshadow. I threw a little bit of the white shade on top of it. I'll put it to the side of it though. These are so freaking soft, so pigmented. They last all day. You do need a primer with them just to make sure that the glittery part of it doesn't fall down here. But I think as long as you've got a primer, e.l.f. has a pretty good glitter primer, but any of their eyeshadow primers are pretty good. You could use any of them with this and it'll last all day. I love it. But then I kind of paired those shiny glittery shades with their Mad for Matte palette. And this one has 10 shades and they are all matte, which is so hard to find in the drugstore, especially for a decent price. And they're just so wearable. They're so creamy. They have all the shades you'd really need for a complete look. And these are some of the shades I'm wearing today. It's hard to see, these are lighter colors, so it's really, I don't know why I swatched like the nude colors. But they're so unbelievably gorgeous. This is one of the browns. Let me get like this darker, almost black shade. They're gorgeous. If you've been looking to try a matte palette, but you don't want to spend like $50 on an Urban Decay palette, or even like the Sonia Kashuk matte palette that's been out for a while, it's like $20. I think it's called their Ion Neutral palette. It's still like $20. So if you'd rather save a little bit of money, this one is amazing. It stays all day. Again, I always use a primer, even whether it's e.l.f. or Too Faced or Urban Decay, I always use a primer. So I would suggest doing the same. The last thing I'm going to mention is their Smudge Pot line. These are amazing. I've done a whole video just on the different ones I have with swatches and showing me applying them. This one is called Back to Basics, and it's kind of a favorite of mine. I have it underneath my lid shadow today, and it's just this really pretty kind of bronzy shade. You can see it there. It's so shimmery and beautiful, but these do not budge. When you put them on, you could wear these just alone or under shadow. They just stay put, and they're so beautiful. Now, I will say some of them aren't as good as others. So, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know some of the lighter ones, like there was a light pink one, I've already gotten rid of it, but there was a light pink one that was like pretty sheer and kind of patchy. That was the only one out of all that I've tried that wasn't as great, but all the rest that I've tried, and I've tried a lot of them, are amazing. So they're definitely worth the money. I would wear these the same rate I wear my MAC paint pots. They're just as good. They're a little bit fluffier and like more whipped, if you will. So they're not quite the same, but I love them. So those are all of the e.l.f. products I'm gonna mention today. I review a lot of e.l.f. on my channel, so if you know that's something you're interested in, please subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of our Jam Beauty 89 family, or my jammers as I've called them. I'm like the only one that calls them that, like no one else. Anyway, I'm so glad you watched my video, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye.